I'll start this video by saying a short prayer for everyone watching. Amen. Beloved Father, bless every person who is watching this video right now. May every heart learn to walk with God every day, even amidst life's difficulties and uncertainties. It strengthens faith, brings peace to the mind and hope to the soul. May your presence accompany every step of these people and never let them lack love, protection, and guidance. In the name of Jesus, Amen. There's a type of tiredness that doesn't go away with sleeping. No matter how many hours you try to rest, your soul remains heavy. You open your eyes, stare at the ceiling for a few seconds, and before the day even begins, the weight has already arrived. Your schedule is full. The commitments don't stop. People talk, laugh, ask, demand, and you're still there, functioning, answering messages, completing tasks, showing up for everyone as if everything is fine. But inside, there's a strange feeling, a silent emptiness, a weariness that's hard to explain and even harder to hide. Because sometimes the body remains standing, but the heart is already silently crying out for help. It's not exactly sadness, it's not necessarily depression. It's more like a silent emptiness, a subtle disconnect between what you experience and what you feel, as if you were watching your own life from afar, unable to truly inhabit it. And the most disconcerting thing, you've already tried everything to fill that void. Work, relationships, achievements, distractions. For a moment it seems to work, but soon the silence returns, sometimes deeper than before. Because there are things the world offers but can't sustain. There's a thirst that no human source can truly quench. Augustine of Hippo, one of the greatest thinkers in the history of faith, wrote a phrase that has spanned centuries and still resonates today. You have made us for yourself, Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you. He knew exactly what he was saying. Before finding God, he sought pleasure, philosophy, fame, and nothing filled the void. Because the human heart was made in a specific shape, and only one thing fits it perfectly. But here's a question you may not have honestly asked yourself yet. What if this emptiness isn't a problem to solve, but an invitation to listen? Stay. Because what comes next could completely change how you see everything you're experiencing right now. Sometimes God doesn't arrive with a bang, he arrives in a whisper, a prayer you recited almost without believing it, a verse that appeared out of nowhere on a screen, on a piece of paper, in someone's words, an inexplicable peace that descended in the middle of an anxious night, when you least expected it and needed it most. Small signs that, on their own, seem like coincidence, but when you start to put them together, you realize there's a presence weaving everything behind the scenes. This is how spiritual awakening usually happens, not in a dramatic explosion for most people, but in a silent sequence of moments that gradually open the eyes of the heart. Like when the sun begins to rise and the darkness doesn't disappear all at once, but gradually gives way, until suddenly you realize it's already day. And the most beautiful thing about all this? God was never absent. He was there all along, waiting, with a patience that puts to shame any human definition of love. Intimacy with God doesn't begin when you become perfect. It begins when you simply stop, look around and say, I think you've always been here. There's a story in the Bible that illustrates this in a way that breaks your heart and rebuilds it at the same time. Mary Magdalene carried a burden that the society of her time did not forgive. Luke 8:2 records that 7 demons had come out of her. 7. It wasn't just inner suffering, it was an entire life marked by what others saw in her, even before she opened her mouth. In a time when a woman's reputation was almost everything, hers was destroyed. She was the kind of person people would cross the street to avoid. And it was precisely this woman whom Jesus chose to look into the eyes, not with judgment, not with condescending pity, with a dignity she had probably never received from anyone, The moment Jesus freed her, something far greater than healing happened. She was seen, recognized, restored from within before any change appeared on the outside. And that look changed everything. From that point on, Mary Magdalene did not leave in shame. She followed Jesus. She was present at the crucifixion when many male disciples fled in fear. She stayed close until the end. And then came the most important morning in history. She went to the tomb while it was still dark, when hope seemed completely buried. She was the first person to whom Jesus appeared resurrected. The woman whom the world rejected, God chose to be the first witness to the greatest revelation of all time. Think about it for a second. God could have chosen anyone to announce the resurrection. He chose her, the one with the most troubled past, the one whom the religion of the time considered the least important, as if God wanted to leave a message forever etched in history. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you've carried. I see you, and I can use you in ways you can't even imagine. Perhaps you too feel marked by something that happened, by something that was done to you, or that you yourself did. And perhaps the voice of the past still speaks louder than the voice of God. But here is the truth that Mary Magdalene experienced firsthand. God doesn't look for you after you've gotten yourself together. He finds you exactly where you are. Whoever comes to me, I will never drive away. John 6:37. The transformation that God works rarely appears first in the mirror. It appears in your reaction. In that moment when someone provokes you and you realize you didn't explode like before. On that day when anxiety knocked on your door and instead of collapsing, you took a deep breath and remembered you weren't alone. These are small changes, almost invisible to those on the outside, but you feel them, and that's exactly where God is working. Romans 12:2 says something that goes far beyond nice advice. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Notice the word renewal, not a superficial reform, not a spiritual makeover, a profound renewal that begins in your thoughts, descends to your heart, and changes the way you see your entire life. Walking with God daily is exactly that, a continuous process of allowing your mind to be shaped by a perspective greater than your own. And this spiritual life change has a very concrete practical effect. Decisions begin to have more direction. You stop acting solely on impulse and start asking yourself questions. What does God think about this? Not out of religious obligation, but because the relationship grew and you genuinely came to care about that answer. It's like any real relationship. The more you get to know someone, the more you consider their point of view before acting. The inner peace with God that begins to emerge at this stage is not the peace of someone without problems. It is the peace of someone who has an anchor. The world around may remain turbulent, circumstances may remain challenging, but there is something within that does not waver in the same way. Philippians 4:7 calls this the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. And it's true, because you yourself can't quite explain where it comes from. It's simply there. The exterior also begins to change over time. Relationships improve, choices align, doors that were closed begin to open. But God always transforms lives from the inside out, never the other way around. And whoever tries to reverse this order ends up frustrated, because they try to change behaviors without transforming the heart. The root needs to be touched first, and only God reaches deep enough to do that. The question is not whether God can transform you. The question is, are you willing to be transformed? Because the journey that transforms everything is about to be tested in a way that no one can escape. No one warns you that walking with God is not a shortcut to a life without pain. And perhaps it's good that they don't warn you right away, because if they warned you the wrong way, it would seem like false advertising. But the truth is this: Faith in God during difficult times is not the absence of the storm. It's the presence of something unwavering within you while the storm rages. And that difference changes everything. Sometimes loss comes, the diagnosis arrives, the relationship ends, the project fails, the money runs out, and you, who were already walking with God, look to the sky and ask, why? This question isn't a lack of faith, it's honesty, and God is great enough to receive your question without being offended. The Psalms are full of them, David asked. Jeremiah asked. Even Jesus on the cross cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" Matthew 27:46. True faith doesn't pretend it doesn't hurt. It hurts and it continues. What changes when you trust God in all situations is the foundation upon which you stand. It's the difference between a house built on sand and one built on rock, as Jesus himself described in Matthew 7. The rain will fall on both. The wind will beat against both. But only one remains standing. Not because it was spared the storm, but because it was built on something that does not give way. And this invisible force that sustains you on the heaviest days has a name. It has a presence, and it will never go away. Before continuing, I need to pause here for a second. If this content is touching something deep within you, if you feel that this message didn't arrive by chance, I want to ask you something simple. Leave a like now and subscribe to the channel. It's not just a number for us. It's a sign that this message is reaching those who need it, and share it with someone who also needs to hear it today. Now let's continue, because what comes next is the heart of everything we're talking about. Isaiah 43:2 says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned." Notice that the verse does not say, "with you pass." Say, "when." Because God didn't promise that the waters would never come. He promised that you wouldn't be swallowed by them. There is a force working behind the scenes of your life, supporting every step, even when your knees tremble. Hope and faith in God that survive the storms are the most solid there are. Because they have been tested, they are like gold that has passed through fire and come out purer than it went in. And when you look back after one of these tough seasons, you realize something that will completely surprise you. What you thought would destroy you was exactly what made you stronger. And the reason why this happened is saved for a specific moment in this message. Keep watching. There's a moment in the spiritual journey that is priceless. It's when you look back and the whole story changes meaning. What seemed like punishment becomes preparation. What seemed like God's silence becomes a formative period that only makes sense now. That door that slammed in your face and you cried for weeks, it was protection. That relationship that ended and you thought you wouldn't survive, it was guidance. God transforms lives not by erasing the pain of the past, but by giving it new meaning. God's purpose for your life is often not delivered in a straight line. It is built in a zigzag pattern, with pauses, with turns, with passages through places you would never choose. But each point along the way was being connected by hands that see what your eyes cannot reach. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails," not because God ignores your plans, but because his plans are bigger, more complete, and more full of life than anything you could design on your own. Walking with God changes everything precisely here. In the way you interpret your own story, those who walk without God live at the mercy of circumstances, trying to control what they cannot control and despairing when control slips away. Those who walk with God learn little by little that they don't need to understand everything to trust. They learn that there is an invisible thread weaving together each chapter of their lives with a wisdom that goes beyond human logic. And then that moment arrives, It could be in a church service, it could be in the silence of the early morning, it could be in a simple conversation. A moment when you feel deep in your heart that everything makes sense. Not that the pain has disappeared, not that all the questions have been answered, but that there is a greater purpose sustaining everything, and that you weren't lost, you were being guided. Trusting God in all situations is not naivete. It's the smartest decision a human being can make. And now we arrive at the moment I promised at the beginning of this message. What follows is the most important part of everything we've discussed today. It doesn't matter how long you've been away. It doesn't matter how many times you've tried and given up. It doesn't matter the weight you carry, the size of the mistake you've made, or the depth of the emptiness you feel right now. God keeps calling. With the same voice, with the same love, with the same open door that has always been there, waiting for you to simply decide to enter. Getting closer to God isn't a complicated process that requires you to first become a better version of yourself. It's exactly the opposite. You come as you are. With dirty hands, a weary heart, and unanswered questions, because that's exactly how Mary Magdalene came. That's exactly how David came, after all he had done. That's exactly how the prodigal son returned to his father in the parable Jesus told in Luke 15, without a rehearsed speech, without any achievements to present. And the father ran to meet him even before he finished speaking. A practical relationship with God begins with a moment of honesty, a real conversation, not necessarily with the right words, but with an open heart. It begins with the Bible open at a time of day that you set aside for this. It begins with the decision not to let another day pass, living on autopilot without cultivating God's presence in your life. Small steps, consistent, real. That's how a life transformed by God is built, brick by brick, day by day. And now the moment I've saved, especially for you, has arrived. The biblical revelation promised at the beginning of this message. In John 15:5, Jesus says something absolutely simple and absolutely profound at the same time. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. Without me, nothing. With me, abundant fruit, not mediocre fruit, not occasional fruit, abundant fruit. The difference between a life connected to God and a life disconnected is not a matter of religion or morality. It's a matter of source. The branch that is connected to the vine doesn't need to strive to produce fruit. It simply remains. And the fruit comes naturally because life is flowing from the right root. This is the inner peace with God that the world cannot give and cannot take away. This is the hope and faith in God that survives any winter. And this journey, this life by His side, can begin today. Not tomorrow. Not when you are ready. Today. If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment with one word. Which part of this message resonated most with you? Your answer might be exactly what someone else needs to read. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. There's much more content like this coming soon because the walk with God is an endless journey of discovery, and we want to walk that path with you. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine on you and be gracious to you. Numbers 6:24-25.